students! Welcome to another writing segment. Today, we will be working on the SPM English Language Paper 2 for summary writing. In this episode, we will be doing some revision on the exam format and requirements for Section C, question 31 in the SPM English Language Examination paper, and tips for summary writing. Exam format. Question 31 of Section C in the SPM English Language Paper 2. This question is a continuation from the reading comprehension questions in Section C. The objectives of this task is to assess students on the ability to extract main points from the passage, distinguish main ideas from supporting details, substitute expressions with single words, and use alternative vocabulary. Students are required to summarize a 800 to 1,000 word passage in not more than 130 words, including the 10 words given with the instructions. The instructions will usually let you know where to extract the points from. For example, the whole text may have 80 lines, but the task requires you to read from line 1 to 50 only. So read the instructions carefully. Remember that the summary must be in continuous writing. Never write in note form. Let's look at the marking scheme for this question. Summary writing is worth 15 marks. Marks will be given for main points and language. For every main point mentioned, 1 mark will be allocated, which totals to 10 marks. Language is divided into the ability to paraphrase and use language accurately. 5 marks are allocated for paraphrasing and the remaining 5 marks for use of language. The total marks for paraphrasing and language accuracy will be halved before being added to the marks you get for the main points. In order to get high marks for language in summary writing, you have to ensure that you achieve the following criteria. For paraphrasing, you must be able to demonstrate that you can paraphrase the sentences from the text. This means that your writing must be original, but at the same time, retain the meaning of the main points you've extracted from the passage. Markers want to assess if you truly understand the content of the passage. If you copy from the passage directly and do not paraphrase, you will only acquire 0 to 3 marks. So it is very important that you rephrase the sentences from the passage into your own words. For use of language, markers look for accuracy. This means that you have to demonstrate to the marker that you are able to construct simple, compound, and complex sentences correctly. Writing only in simple sentences will result in a maximum of 3 marks. Besides that, spelling, punctuation, and grammar has to be free from mistakes. However, markers will allow for a few minor errors as no first draft is perfect. Serious and repetitive mistakes can mark you down to 2 marks. As such, you have to be really careful and allow 5 minutes to check your summary essay for mistakes. From the marking scheme, we can see that there are a lot of expectations in order to get full marks for language. Students have to be able to fulfill 2 aspects: ability to paraphrase and language accuracy. But don't worry, with my help and a lot of practice, I'm sure you can do it. All you have to do is believe in yourself and have determination. Techniques for summary writing. Now, I'm going to share with you a few techniques on how to write a summary. I will be using question 31 and the passage from the 2014 SPM paper as an example. 1. Identify the area for summary. The instructions will tell you which part of the text to summarize. It's very important not to use sentences from other parts of the passage if you don't want to lose marks. In the SPM English paper 2014, students were required to summarize line 14 to line 36. So here's the text, and I want you to mark line 14 to line 36. The easiest way is to use a bright pen and draw a box around it. This is very simple to do, and it'll help you to stay focused on the task. During the exam, you may feel pressured working under such limited time, so it's good to have this habit to help you stay focused. 2. Read the text. Next is to read the text within the box once. So, read from line 14 to 36 again. This time, you will be looking for information based on the instructions. The instructions for question 31 in 2014 specified that students were required to write a summary based on the challenges the course participants faced when exploring the caves. The keywords and phrases here are challenges and exploring the caves. So, when you read this part, try to pay attention to the challenges. 3. Identify the main points. Keep a lookout for 10 of them. Since the instructions specifically mentioned challenges, you should be looking for 10 points about the difficulties the course participants faced. As you read, ask yourself questions. For example, what is considered as a challenge? Which parts really showed that the participants would have a tough time? If I'm forced to do what, would it be hard for me? Mark the points with a pen or a highlighter so that you can keep track of them. Here are the points. Switch off torches. Abseiling session down a 30-meter cliff. The weather was slightly windy. Slippery rocks. Raining heavily. Wriggle along like worms to get through some narrow rock passages. Suffered cuts and bruises on our arms and legs. On our bellies through a muddy, watery passage. Go through that tiny hole. Get down on all fours in the dirty mud. So, as long as you mention any of these points, you will be given marks. It is very easy to get 10 marks, so don't waste this opportunity. 4. Rewrite the points. You need to be selective and mention only what is necessary. Mention only what the question wants. Do not include the examples, elaborations, and repeated ideas. Begin your summary with the first 10 words given in the instruction. Remember, the words will be included in the word count. Since the total acceptable length is 130 words, that means you can only write up to 120 words. Here is a sample of a summary for SPM Section C in 2014. Starting with Gua Penyu. The trainers instructed the participants to switch off the torches, which made it hard for them to move due to the darkness. Then, they had an abseiling session down a 30-meter cliff. The slightly windy weather was worrying because it affected their way down. At Gua Balai, the rocks were slippery. Worse, it rained heavily at night. The next morning at Gua Tongkat, they had to wriggle around to squeeze through narrow rock passages. They got cuts and bruises from the sharp rocks even though they wore protective gears. Besides that, they had to crawl on their bellies through muddy water and squeeze through a tiny hole. Finally, they had to crawl on the dirty mud yet keep their noses above water at the same time. 130 words. 5. Check and edit. After writing, make sure you allocate a bit of time to check your answers. Remember the criteria that markers are looking for. If you are aiming for full marks, check whether you have written 10 points in the summary, paraphrase your points, substituted some words with your own, use a variety of sentences, absolutely no language errors. So try to do all that in order to maximize your chances to get extra marks. If you are not so confident, you may lift the points directly from the passage. That way, you will get more marks for content and not get penalized as much for language. And this is how you write a summary for Section C. Task. Now that you have seen how a summary essay should be written, it's time to take down some notes. Using a flowchart, can you recall the steps I've shown you? Write down those steps in sequence. Use this worksheet to remind you of the steps when you do your revision on summary writing. I hope you found this video useful. With a lot of practice, I'm sure you will build your confidence in summary writing. I wish you all the best for your revision. Until next time, goodbye!